This video is going to be showing you how to fill out the exclusive buyer agency agreement. We click on the document from your DocuSign rooms. Take a minute to load it up. It's got quite a few pages in it. First, we want to make sure the date, I always leave blank because sometimes you will have an appointment rescheduled, and I just like adding the date in when I'm there signing it with the folks. Right off the bat, who are the buyers? We have Test Billy and his spouse Sample Billy as the buyers, and we have Keller Williams Professionals as the firm. We come down here, they are looking for a residential property in the general location of Buncombe County, North Carolina. If they're looking in Henderson County and Buncombe County, put Henderson, Buncombe County, North Carolina. If they're looking at Haywood, just add them in there. I like doing it by county. Some people will just simply put WNC. I think that's a little vague. I like putting per county name. Sometimes you might work with a buyer and they say, I will work with you if this one particular house. And you might literally put one address on there and that's it. That can happen. But in general, I like putting the county I know they're looking in. If they're looking in one or two counties, I'll put them in there as well. But let's just say they're looking in Buncombe County. The duration shall begin. I leave that empty, but I will always put in how long it will last for. And I like 6 months agreements, a year-long agreement, depending, but 6 months at the very least. And so for us right now, this is March 2020, so we're going to say 9/15/2020. Now, compensation of the firm. We will receive a non-refundable retainer fee. That's if you want to ask your buyer to pay you a fee that they will not get back unless they buy a home. And then it shall, if you click this, be credited towards any compensation due. So if you ask for a $500 retainer fee, and you had a $5,000 commission, $500 will be credited to that already, so you'll get a check for $4,500, not the full $5,000. But if you click this button, it means they're paying you $500. And then when you get $5,000, you keep the $500 and get the $5,000. This is rare. I know one broker who does it, and she does it because she is multilingual, speaks 4 different languages, and if the people work with her, this is what she asks for. She does it very successfully, but quite frankly, in our market, generally speaking, I wouldn't suggest it. We'll say shall, and we will just put in N-A in there. Now, the buyer agrees that the firm, the next one is the buyer agrees the firm's fees for services hereunder shall be in the amount of, and if you look underneath, it's looking for a particular dollar amount, a percentage of purchase price, or other method. You do not put an NA in here or a 0. You do not do it. So what I like to do is I would simply say, if I'm working with a buyer, my personal policy is I expect to get 3% of the, and I capitalize this, and you want to capitalize it because it is referencing a particular statement in a document. And so when you're looking at an offer to purchase contract, the purchase price is capitalized because it is a specific item. It's almost considered a noun. It's the proper name for this part of the contract. I like having it capitalized. It's something I was taught very early, and I feel very comfortable, and I know that it's referencing it directly. So right here, 3% of the purchase price, I like having purchase price capitalized because it references directly to the offer to purchase contract. Down here, we see a little blank box. This says within blank days after expiration of this agreement, if the buyer goes to buy a property that you have shown them during this agreement, that they'd still owe you compensation. Unless, and here's the unless down here, I hope you can see my mouse wiggling over it, unless the buyer's hired another agent. So this form is not to protect you in particular, it's to protect realtors as a whole. So if Test Billy hires me and I show him properties and the we terminate or it expires this agreement. If he turns around and hires another agent and then goes after a property I had shown him, I'm out of luck. I'm not going to get paid. But if he tries to not hire an agent and skirt around using an agent and then go buy a property I've shown him, this number of days will protect that after the expiration of our buyer rep agreement. This really varies widely depending on the broker. I typically will do a 90-day. I've seen people do 30-day, 45, 60, 180. I've really seen it all over the place. I like 90. You can do whatever you want for yourself. It's a personal choice. Talk to your broker in charge. He might have an input on that for you, especially as a new agent. Or talk to your coach, myself, and we can discuss that. And as we go through here, we'll do another video of how to discuss all this with a buyer. Right now I'm just showing you how to fill it out so you can print it and bring it with you. Right here, the next thing you'll see is there's nothing on page 2 to fill out. You go to page 3. You have to, this is optional. It says it's an optional thing. Buyer acknowledges receipt of sample copy of an offer to purchase and contract for review purposes. The brochure of the question and answers on home inspection, the sample copy of a professional services disclosure form. What you want to do with both of these is I'll show you after we're done how to find these and do what you need to do to print these out and take with you. The offer to purchase and contract form, sample, copy. You can find all these, they're in the documents and we'll get them and I'll show you. But you want to give these to everyone. Now, what I like to do is I set up an email template and a folder where as soon as I work with a buyer and we're right there signing it, I will send them an email with PDFs of these documents so I don't have to print them out and hand them to them. They can have it in their email and they can review them anytime they want. So that's the way I do it. Other brokers might have these printed out and hand them to in a packet. Whatever you choose to do, just make sure if they're signing saying they've received it, that they have in fact received it. So whether you email it to them right then and there or have it in hand to give to them, have that, make it part of your system so you're doing things correctly. The next thing is the home warranty. This little empty box states that if you help your buyer obtain a home warranty, that you may be compensated for doing so. I'm not a fan of that. I don't have an arrangement with anyone for that. I always just stick an NA there because I'm not going to do it. This is something, the next step is additional provisions. This is something that you can give a buyer peace of mind on, which is when you're discussing with them and they say, well, I don't really want to be tied down. If they're not interested in signing a buyer rep agreement because they're afraid they're locking into you and they don't know you well yet, this is an initial consultation with someone you don't know, for example, I always put in here, either party has the right to terminate at any time for any reason. And that just lets them know right off the bat, you're signing the buyer rep agreement with me so that I can represent you in a real estate transaction. If you don't have the work with real estate agent signed and the buyer rep agreement signed, you cannot fill out an offer to purchase for someone. Because if you don't have these signed and you start filling an offer to purchase signed, it's, I believe, illegal because you're not representing anyone and you're filling out a real estate form and you don't represent anyone in the transaction. You cannot be doing that. Talk to your BIC for more information on that, but I like putting this statement in here that either party, and I don't have to have a capital P there, either party has the right to terminate at any time for any reason. It just lets them know, if you don't like working with me, you can get out of it and go hire another agent, and that's fine. And that can even go back to the part we talked about on page 1, where if within 90 days, if they hire another agent, you're not going to be compensated. So if they don't like working with you and they want to let you go and go hire another agent, there's no harm, no foul, nothing's going to bind them up, they're good to go. This is kind of a peace of mind thing. When we do the video on how to discuss this and how to make a buyer consultation goes at a high level, this may change, but for the purpose of filling out the document, I wanted to put it in there. As we go down past page 3, this is an important one. it's very important that when you're working with a buyer in this firm, we are the largest firm in Western North Carolina, we are the best firm in Western North Carolina. You want to make sure that they are highlighting this top part right here where my mouse is waving over. This makes it that you can go out and show them homes and negotiate for them on Keller Williams professional listings. And as the largest firm, it's a very good chance that you will be taking a buyer to one of the firm's listings. And since the firms get the listing and the firms actually are what the buyer is hiring, this is a very important one to fill out. I always like explaining to them, I need you to initial the top one. It allows me to show you all the homes in Western North Carolina, not just avoiding the ones in my firm. Otherwise, I cannot show you homes in my firm, and we're the largest firm. So they have to initial the top. If they don't want to, we can have that discussion. It's a separate topic. But really, these are the two you want initialed by the buyers. Now down here in dual agency compensation, it's the same thing as up here on page 1, where it says, this is compensation for the firm, 3% of purchase price. Down here on page 4, it's if you're in a dual agency situation. So if they're buying one of your listings or one of the firm's listings, how much is going to be compensated? What I put in here is I will actually put 6% of purchase price. Now, they may look here and say, well, does that mean that I have to pay the 6%? And you just assure them, we go for the listing firm first. In the dual agency situation, that would be our own. And we will get the money from the listing firm first. And if you were to ever have a discussion of them having to pay the purchase price, that's something you would discuss with them. But just assure them, when we're looking at homes listed in the MLS, the compensation is publicly listed, and once it's publicly listed in the MLS, they're bound to pay the buyer agent, that would be you in this example, they're bound to pay you by the terms of what they put in the MLS listing. Moving on, we'll roll down here. I'm going to stop on this one. I just want you guys to know this is a big deal. Home surveillance was not a big problem 10 years ago, but now the equipment is so cheap and readily available that it's a big deal. So if you are representing a buyer, I would let them know that in any home they go in, a seller, a listing owner, is allowed to have video recording devices in the home and actively recording when buyers are walking through. They are not allowed to record audio. There's a big difference there. The problem is you don't know whether they're recording audio or not. It is a Class H felony right now, I believe, in the state of North Carolina to record someone walking through your home in this situation, to record buyers walking through, and it says so right here. But just let your clients know and say, hey, when we go through here, let's not talk too much about what you might pay, not pay, how much you really love the house. Just really think about it. And we can always talk about that when we get back in the car. You never know if someone's listening, and we don't want to impact your negotiation power. Same thing with photographs and video. They are allowed to, the sellers are allowed to record buyers in there, but the buyers are not allowed to take photos or videos that intrude on a property owner's reasonable expectations of privacy. So keep that in mind. Wire fraud warning. This is a big one. Always, my personal policy is I do not let anyone send me any of their personal information. I don't want bank accounts. I don't want social security numbers. I don't want, if they send me a photocopy of a check, if it has the account number and routing number not blocked off at the bottom of the check, I will delete the email, call them and tell them to block it off and send it back. You don't want the liability, you don't want the information, you don't need it, and you shouldn't have it. It's my personal policy. And let them know, wire fraud warning. If anyone ever reaches out to your buyer about wiring information, they should immediately call their attorney or their bank directly before they reply to that sort of request. I don't care if they know this is from the attorney. Always have them call to protect them. It's just cover your Heine situation. Now we come to the last page, which is page 6. Now you want to try to fill as much as possible. That being said, their name, signature, and date are the most important things for the clients that are hiring you, the buyers. Now, if you're working with someone who they are going to buy property through an entity, an LLC, a corporation, a partnership, a trust, whatever it may be, you put the name of the company here. You put the name of the person signing on behalf of the company here, their title. So Prescott Real Estate Incorporated is going to buy this property. Keith Prescott is the representative, title CEO. That's how you'd fill out the entity buyer situation. Now down here is where you want to put your things. Our firm license is C10634. Our office address is Ashland Avenue in Asheville, North Carolina, 28801. I want to have my signature would go here, my license number here, the date would go here. This is what you really need to have in there. We don't need the firm phone number there because that's not the firm phone number. There's 828-254-7253. Might as well make that look pretty. So, Keller Williams Professionals, firm license number, need those things. Office address, you need those things. Your signature, your individual license number, the date, you need those things. Those are what you absolutely have to have in here. And we've reached the end of the document. I would save and close this. Oh, it's not letting me do that. I will put 0. It does not want you to put an NA in there in the DocuSign forms, so I put a 0. I hit save and close. Now, I right click, I go to print, and I'll take it with me to my buyer appointment. Thanks, guys.